everyone. I hope everyone is doing better in their journey. I wanted to take a little bit of time to share a little bit of my journey and uh, just documenting a little bit further into what's going on 14 months in. I know I wanted to do an update at 18 months, but before I forget like what is going on, I did want to make sure that I document maybe perhaps a little bit of what's going on and give you a glimpse in that. So, prior to the holidays, I did make a little quick update and just letting you know where I was. I did enjoy the holidays. I hope everybody had a great holiday season and ready for this new year. So, I am 14 months into my journey, and I have to say that I did have a little bit of a backward steps in that journey, and that's okay. I wanted to be completely honest and keep it real with some of you that may be following my journey as well. That, sometimes you do take some backward steps, and that it's okay to do so, and you will recover from it. So I'm finally getting out of it. I'm finally seeing light. So I wanted to share that as well. So prior to my last update, I did share a little bit about how my holiday season was going. Actually, my holiday season was very well. I was very surprised on how much I had the energy and how much fun I had during the holiday season. I really think because I was really concerned that I was going to be, in a very really bad state forever, that I kind of had this gloom and doom sensation over the holidays, and it was not the case. I had a perfectly normal holiday season. I pretty much did everything I wanted to do during the holiday season, which I think is why, preemptively, what happened is probably why I, correlate it to all those activities. But, it's beginning from middle of November into all of December. I, did everything that you can do for a holiday season. I celebrated with friends and family. I actually also did a little bit of diet changes in terms of I was not as restrictive and as militant as I had been prior, 6 months prior to those months. I had been really, really strict with my diet, making sure that I followed a very low histamine, dairy-free, gluten-free, all very clean eating diet. And during the holiday season, I did indulge here and there in certain meals or certain dishes, and so it was fun actually to be able to eat those and not have such bad reactions to it. I did notice that if I would eat maybe once in a while or once a week, it wasn't too bad into my system. But if I had, two or three or four more during the week, then definitely I would definitely feel it in my body. One of the things that I did eat more of was cheese. During the holiday season, cheese obviously becomes something that a lot of dishes have, and dairy obviously is something that is in a lot of the ingredients. So I did indulge in dairy, and not a lot, but I did wanted to at least be comfortable enough to eat it. I did see obviously some of my skin issues, GI issues, obviously some breakthrough migraines come through because of the diet. So I know for sure that diet is a key part of my journey. So that kind of takes me into January, the new year. When I shot the last video, I was pretty much on a flare up during that last kind of week of December into the beginning of January. I was feeling kind of all the effects of the holidays, like like going out, seeing family, spending time with friends, not eating perhaps as strictly as I had been. I also had been working very hard because my work is very much heavy during the end of the year season. So I had prioritized my work, maybe over a little bit more of myself. So finding that balance during the end of the year was definitely something that I did struggle with, but I would say that I wouldn't change it. I don't have any regrets over it because honestly, for my mental health, it really helped me to be able to have a quote unquote normal holiday season. Especially because that was one of the things that I had been looking forward to. I was kind of scared that I was going to be not in the best state of mind, state of body to be able to enjoy the holidays. And I had just so much fun. I will say, obviously, kind of weird, ironic dates, but back into the middle of January. Now, if you follow me or if you've seen some of my videos, I tested positive with COVID on January 14th of 2022. Thank goodness I did not get COVID again, but I did get influenza A, and I tested positive for influenza A on January 12th of this year, 2023. Looking back on some things, I am kind of putting dots in between with the hormone changes. So that's something that I truly believe that hormone changes have something to do with obviously immunity and with the flare up of everything. If you're a long hauler with COVID symptoms and you're female, you will understand when I say that around your ovulation time and maybe menstruation time, it's kind of where you have a lot of flare ups, or you perhaps see some correlation with the flare ups. So I definitely had a really bad influenza A episode. I had to go to the ER to get fluids because I was very dehydrated, and I became really dehydrated really fast, which is very concerning and surprising. Meaning, for me, I had been really diligent about making sure that I was very hydrated, through my diet, and it was kind of scary to see how fast I became dehydrated. Obviously, with flu-like symptoms, you can become dehydrated really fast. I did as well. Had to go to the ER for fluids. Um, my influenza did prolong because I got bronchitis from it. So, all of January, most of January actually, I had just been completely bed resting. I can tell you, just flare up of symptoms came back full force. Obviously, I was sick with influenza. I had bronchitis, so all the flu symptoms that you can imagine with that, and then bronchitis symptoms, but also just like the long haul symptoms, labyrinthitis symptoms, dizziness, all of those came full force. I had pretty much 4 weeks of just absolutely insane flare up of everything. I would say not 100% back to where, I had been in 2022 when I first started with everything. But I would say it was pretty much the same thing. Same kind of onset of symptoms, how my body reacted. It was just, now I knew exactly what was going on. I knew how to handle some of the symptoms as opposed to in 2022. I didn't know what was going on. I was very scared. Obviously, and health anxiety becomes kind of a part of that journey. So, fast forward a year, I had a lot of tools under me, and I had obviously the medical team under me to really um, understand what was going on, and I had that support. I would say for about 4 weeks, I felt pretty bad. About the end of the fourth week into the fifth week, I started kind of getting a little bit better. I would say, obviously, that the way that I progressed last year with COVID and acute illness was very, very slow. And obviously was because, again, I had that health anxiety and I didn't know what was going on. And with this one, I would say with this health episode, I was a little bit more in tune with my body. I knew what was going on. I had obviously the drugs to help me with that, all the medication, supplements, etc., and all the other tools available for me. I would say that I saw my body come back and a little bit more faster. Obviously with COVID and labyrinthitis, it took me over a year to get where I was, and within 4.5 weeks to 5 weeks, I started feeling the baseline that I was at. I would say prior to all of that. So now, 14 months in, what are still my symptoms? I'm still a little bit fatigued, not as much as I had been. I think that the fatigue is a little bit of everything. Obviously, I'm still dealing with the long haul symptoms, but also the flu does give some fatigue, and it can last up to 10 weeks, 12 weeks in some cases. With me, I'm probably, going to have fatigue for a bit anyway. So I'm still dealing with that. It's not fatigue so overwhelming as I had been in the past where, I'm bedridden. I have not been bedridden except for the acute flu-like symptoms that happen for the 2-week mark. On and off, with high flu symptoms and fever, you obviously don't feel the greatest, so you're going to be bedbound for the majority of your day. But otherwise, the fatigue is not as bad as it has been in the past. My heart palpitations did get worse with the influenza. So I did go back to cardiology during actually all the episode, just because I did see that everything was going on. Obviously they chalk it up to the influenza, just mechanisms in your body trying to get rid of all that stuff. I'm still seeing some of the tachycardia coming in. I did go ahead and talk to my cardiologist about it. We are switching my medication to something else. I have not started yet because I'm in kind of a limbo state right now, but I will start that soon. My beta blocker is doing a great job in everything. I just have those breakthrough tachycardia events that are not really in any way dangerous. I've been told many times that they're not dangerous, but they're very uncomfortable and they do cause anxiety, obviously. And so, we want to tackle that, and we want to make sure that we can get rid of as much as possible of it. Brain fog is still something that comes in and out. Typically, if I am very good about my diet, about my medication, about really pacing myself, about, obviously taking care of my body, the brain fog has not been such an issue. Even during the influenza event, I didn't have that much brain fog, and I was quite surprised with it. My brain was still very active. I still could process things. So brain fog is still there, but I wouldn't say it's something so debilitating as it was in the past. Otherwise, the dizziness is intermittent. That is still something ongoing. With the influenza, all my ears were plugged up. I was so scared. I was like, I'm going to have labyrinthitis again. Obviously, the chances of getting labyrinthitis again are very low. It still could happen, but very low. I did go and get checked out at my ENT. They did a hearing test again, everything. Afterwards, it's back to baseline. There's no further damage. There's nothing there. But for the first 3 weeks acute illness, tinnitus came back. The fluid getting stuck in your ears came back. Neck pain came back, like full force flare up. Popping of the ear came back. It was just like full on labyrinthitis again. Very dizzy too, very out of balance. for about a week, I would say. And then once the influenza acute illness kind of broke, then I started kind of feeling like myself again. I did receive uh, 2 shots of um, prednisone like medication because of my shortness of breath. I did have a lot of murmurs because of my bronchitis, and so they wanted to open up the airways. And I think that actually really helped opening up like everything else. Like my ears were draining and all of that. So that was really a good thing that came out of that. I don't have anything labyrinthitis type of symptoms left over except for the intermittent dizziness. Now, before, I've kind of really blogged over my journey of dizziness, and that was like kind of like the number one symptom that was very persistent 24/7. And as I've shared, through all the work that I've done, it was not 24/7 anymore. It was very intermittent, couple hours here and there. I would say with the influenza, I did see an uptick of the dizziness. There were several days where I had dizziness for several days, and then I would not, and then it would come back. So by now, dizziness doesn't scare me as much as it did in the past, and so I think the neuroplasticity of just understanding that my brain is trying to compensate, it allows me to heal a little bit faster. But intermittent dizziness is still something that I am still struggling with. And when I say intermittent, I would say maybe within a week, I am total hours, perhaps 10 to 12 hours of dizziness within a week. So that could be, half a day where I'm dizzy, maybe that full day, or maybe a couple hours here and there. I just get like little blurps of tilting, dropping feeling, maybe just like the sensation of boat like feeling, bouncy feeling here and there. Otherwise, it feels quite normal in terms of just balance issues and everything else. So those are the symptoms that I'm having still 14 months in. Obviously, having had this influenza event that obviously have kind of put me back for a little bit, but finally kind of seeing the light and everything back to normal. I am working full time now. I actually regularly do travel about 2 to 3 times a quarter. And when I travel, I typically I am away for more than 3 or 4 days. And so this after the influenza event, I just came back from a week long work event, and that I was away at, and it was actually my first time on by myself in a work like setting, being in that environment that I had in the past year or so, because obviously last year I didn't obviously have the ability to travel due to all of this. And I gotta say, and I gotta share this because I was really proud of myself that I had just a very normal work week. I traveled 15 hours by vehicle, different clients, different meetings, different conferences, and different locations, and long hours too. Some of my days, sometimes when I travel, many of my days are 10 to 12 hour days, sometimes even more, depending on the activities that are planned for that event. And I gotta say, I was really nervous like a couple days before, hoping and praying that I would make it through. And actually, I was very surprised about how good I felt. I didn't have any episodes of anything. My almost all my symptoms were very under control. I did have a little bit of shortness of breath that week, but I was coming out of the bronchitis, and so it was kind of quite normal for that. And I did have a little bit of heart palpitations because of the shortness of breath. But other than that, I was pretty back to normal. I I think that if anyone would have been with me prior to long COVID or labyrinthitis, they wouldn't have even known any of my struggles for the past year. So it was very, 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 very good for me and for my mental health to be able to get kind of that boost of confidence coming back. I think that really helped me just get over kind of the influenza event and that bronchitis event. So here I am, 14 months in. I would say things are very back to normal. Yes, I'm still struggling with some of the symptoms. Yes, sometimes some days are kind of like, whoa, where did that come from? But other than that, and everything else just comes. I have a full life, I have a work life, everything comes back to normal. One of the things I am still pursuing is my neck pain, and I've kind of shared that with you all that I've had chronic neck pain for years, and I think that that has contributed a little bit into obviously some of my other symptoms. So I'm still really researching neck pain and some of the modalities and or anything that we can do to help and aid with neck pain. I'm still searching and looking for that. I will do another vlog regarding some of kind of chronic pain and neck pain specifically for that, and kind of my journey through it as well, and a little bit more in depth, so that I can share that with you all too. So I know I've been getting some messages in terms of labyrinthitis, specific symptoms, or vestibular specific symptoms. I would say, as of 14 months, I can consider myself pretty much recovered from labyrinthitis. I would not consider myself 100% recovered from long COVID. I think the long COVID symptoms are a little bit more just staying in me a little bit more than anything else. My vision is pretty well. I've had vision issues for a long time. I think having a really good provider looking into your eyes and helping me with the right type of lenses. I did share a little bit about the type of lenses that I have now, retraining of the retina, retraining of the eye, the functionality of it has aided a lot as well. So this is my 14-month update. Please let me know if you have any questions. I know some of you are still struggling, or at least beginning some of your labyrinthitis symptoms journey, or you're still dealing with some symptoms. I know some of you are still dealing with very chronic, long haul COVID symptoms. So feel free to share your story with me. I look at the comments as well. I look at the questions. I will try to answer them as to my best of my ability. If you have any further questions, let me know. I'll try to come back in a couple of months and give you an update. But otherwise, have a happy early spring. I'm in the Midwest, so we call it fake spring, because it always feels like spring is coming, and then we have like some sort of winter storm. But then the real spring comes in. But I hope that you have a wonderful springtime and that you have all the blessings of the world. Bye, everyone.